Raxan took a deep breath and began to recount his tale. When my army arrived on Earth, we thought we were invincible. We had the numbers, the technology, and the strategy, but we failed to consider the humans' determination. They fought not just for victory, but for their survival. He paused, his eyes narrowing as he recalled the battle. I remember one human, a woman named Sarah. She was just one of many, but she fought like a lion. I saw her rallying her people, encouraging them to stand firm against us. They used everything at their disposal, rocks, sticks, anything they could find. They turned the very ground against us. The council listened intently as Raxan continued. We attacked with our advanced weapons, but they fought back with a raw strength that we could not anticipate. They are smart and quick, learning from every encounter. When one tactic failed, they adapted. They turned their weaknesses into strengths. Velok, the elder council member, interjected. But how did you come to be exiled, Raxan? Was it merely the defeat, or was there more? Raxan's expression darkened. After our defeat, I spoke out against my leaders. I warned them that we were not just facing an enemy, we were facing a people who would never give up. I told them that our arrogance would be our downfall, but they did not listen. They wanted to blame someone for our loss, and I became their target. So they cast you out? Zarn asked, his tone softer now. You risked everything to warn us. Yes, Raxan replied, his voice steady. I may be exiled, but I still care about my people in the galaxy. I am here because I believe we must learn from our mistakes. If we choose to fight humans again, it will not end well for us. Tiri's eyes widened as she began to see the truth in Raxan's words. So we must find a way to understand them instead of simply trying to conquer them, she said, her voice thoughtful. Raxan nodded vigorously. Yes! They are not our enemies by nature. They fight to protect what they love. If we approach them with respect and understanding, we might find allies rather than adversaries. The council began to discuss Raxan's warning, realizing the importance of his words. They understood that humanity was not merely a challenge to overcome, but a complex race with strengths and weaknesses of their own. As the meeting drew to a close, Velok turned to Raxan. Thank you for your bravery in sharing your story. We will take your warning seriously and proceed with caution. We must gather more information, but we will also seek to understand the human's perspective. Raxan bowed his head, feeling a sense of relief. He knew the road ahead would be difficult, but at least he had planted the seeds of understanding. As he left the chamber, he felt hopeful that maybe, just maybe, the council would choose the path of wisdom instead of conflict. Outside, the stars twinkled brightly, and Raxan looked up, envisioning a future where humans and aliens could stand together, united against common threats. But for now, the warning had been given, and it was up to the council to heed it. After Raxan's powerful warning, the Galactic Council members spent days in intense discussion. They gathered in the Great Chamber, the air thick with tension and uncertainty. Velok, Tiri, and Zarn sat at the front, their faces serious as they prepared to decide the fate of their dealings with humanity. The question remains, Zarn began, his voice steady. Should we proceed with our plans to invade Earth, or should we choose a different path? He glanced around at the other council members, seeking their input. Tiri took a deep breath. I believe Raxan is right. Humans are not to be taken lightly. They are fierce and unpredictable. If we choose to invade, we risk repeating the mistakes of the past. Her voice was firm, but she could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on her. Velok nodded in agreement. We must consider our options carefully. Raxan's experience teaches us that brute force may not be the best solution. If we engage in battle, we could face severe losses, not just in our numbers, but in our reputation across the galaxy. The council members murmured among themselves. Some were anxious, worried about losing their power and influence, while others were more cautious, understanding the potential consequences of underestimating the humans. Perhaps, suggested a member named Kalen, we should observe humans further, gather more intelligence about their culture and technology before making any decisions. We might find allies among them rather than enemies. Zarn rubbed his chin thoughtfully. This could be a wise approach. If we can understand their ways, we may be able to negotiate with them. We could learn from their strengths rather than fight against them. As the council continued to deliberate, Velok spoke up again. I propose we send an envoy to Earth, a small team that can interact with the humans, learn their ways, and discover their intentions. If we approach them with respect, we may find they are willing to communicate rather than fight. The idea of sending an envoy sparked interest among the council members. Some voiced concerns about the dangers of such a mission. "What if the humans attack our envoy?" one member asked, a hint of fear in his voice. "They may see us as intruders," Thierry countered. "But if we do nothing, we risk being perceived as a threat. Sending an envoy shows we are willing to engage peacefully. It may help build trust." Raxon's words echoed in their minds. He had insisted that humans fought to protect what they loved. If they could show that they respected those values, they might find common ground. After hours of discussion, the council reached a consensus. They decided to stay away from invading Earth and instead focus on understanding the humans. A small group would be selected to act as envoys. They would seek out information about human society, their values, and their technology. The decision felt right to Velok, but it was not without its challenges. "We must be careful and prepared," he reminded the council. "Our envoys will be entering a world that is unknown to us. We must ensure their safety, while also respecting the humans' territory." Thierry agreed. "We should train our envoys to communicate effectively. They need to understand human customs and behaviors to avoid misunderstandings. A small mistake could lead to conflict." As the meeting came to a close, Velok felt a sense of hope. This new path could lead to understanding and cooperation, rather than endless conflict. The council members began to gather their thoughts, feeling lighter now that they had a plan. They assigned the task of selecting envoys to Zarn, who would lead the team. He was experienced and respected among his peers. With Raxon's guidance, they would prepare for the mission ahead. The council meeting ended with a newfound sense of unity. They were committed to learning about the humans rather than fearing them. As they left the chamber, Velok felt the stars shining brighter than ever before. In a corner of the galaxy, humanity awaited, and Velok hoped that their next encounter would lead to understanding rather than chaos. The decision to stay away from conflict was a bold one, but it was also a chance for a better future. As the envoys prepared for their journey, the council held their collective breath, waiting to see what the future would bring. After weeks of preparation, the Galactic Council finally felt ready to send their envoys to Earth. They selected a small team of 5 members, including Zarn, who would lead the mission. The group was excited and anxious as they boarded their sleek spaceship, ready to encounter the humans for the first time. The ship traveled through the stars, its engines humming softly. As they approached Earth, Zarn gathered his team for one last briefing. "Remember, our goal is to understand humans, not to invade," he said, his voice steady. "We must show them that we come in peace. Be respectful and open-minded." The team nodded, their expressions a mix of determination and curiosity. After a few moments, they entered Earth's atmosphere, and the blue planet came into view. It was beautiful with vast oceans, green forests, and bustling cities. The ship landed softly in a remote area, far from any human settlements. As the team disembarked, they could feel the energy of the planet. The air was fresh and filled with sounds of nature. Zarn led the way, his heart racing with anticipation. They had chosen a quiet spot, hoping to make contact without alarming anyone. After a few minutes of waiting, they heard voices in the distance. Zarn signaled for the team to hide behind a cluster of trees. They watched as a group of humans approached, laughing and talking. One of them stood out, a woman with short brown hair, bright green eyes, and an air of confidence. She seemed to be leading the group. As the humans drew closer, Zarn could feel his heart pounding. He whispered to his team, "Stay calm. We need to show that we come in peace." The team nodded, their eyes fixed on the humans. The group of humans paused, noticing the strange spaceship. The leader, Sarah, squinted at the ship, her curiosity piqued. "What is that?" she asked, her voice filled with intrigue. "It looks different from anything I've seen before." Before Zarn could say anything, one of the other humans, a tall man with glasses, stepped forward. "Let's check it out!" It could be something amazing. As the group moved closer, Zarn took a deep breath. "Now is our chance," he whispered to his team. He stepped out from behind the trees, raising his hands to show they meant no harm. "We come in peace," he declared. The humans froze, their eyes wide with surprise. What are you?" Sarah asked, her voice shaking slightly. Zarn took a step forward, trying to appear non-threatening. "We are from the Galactic Council," he said, trying to keep his tone calm. "We wish to talk to you. We want to learn about your people." The humans exchanged glances, a mixture of fear and curiosity evident on their faces. "You're not here to attack us?" Sarah asked, her voice firm but cautious. No, Zarn replied, shaking his head. We learned that humans are strong and clever. We want to understand you, not fight you. Slowly, the tension in the group began to ease. Sarah stepped closer, her eyes narrowing with interest. So you really want to talk? Why? Zarn could see the curiosity growing in her expression. We have heard stories about humans, he explained. Many believe you are fierce warriors, but we want to understand who you truly are. The tall man with glasses stepped forward, his expression shifting from fear to intrigue. This is unexpected. We were prepared for an invasion, not a friendly visit. Zarn smiled. That is exactly why we are here. We wish to build a relationship, to find common ground. Sarah looked at her friends, who were whispering among themselves. After a moment, she turned back to Zarn. All right, we're willing to talk, but we need to make sure this is safe. We have to inform our government about your presence. Zarn nodded, feeling a wave of relief wash over him. Of course, we understand the need for caution. The humans began to relax, and the conversation flowed naturally. Zarn shared stories about their home planet and their culture, while Sarah and her friends spoke about Earth, its challenges, and its triumphs. As they talked, Zarn realized that they were not so different after all. Both groups had dreams, fears, and a desire for peace. By the end of their conversation, Zarn felt a sense of hope blossoming in his chest. The encounter marked a new beginning, not just for the Galactic Council, but for humanity as well. As Zarn watched Sarah smile and engage with his team, he felt confident that this was just the first step toward a bright future, one built on understanding and cooperation rather than fear and conflict. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the land, Zarn knew that their journey was only beginning. The Galactic Council gathered in the Grand Chamber, a vast room filled with representatives from many alien races. The walls shimmered with strange colors and the air was thick with tension. Today, they had to discuss something that worried all of them: the rise of humanity and their growing power in the galaxy. As the meeting began, a tall, green-skinned alien named Zarn took the floor. He was a respected leader from the Rek race, known for their intelligence and strength. We are all aware of the humans, Zarn said, his voice deep and steady. They have been expanding their influence rapidly. We cannot ignore this threat any longer. The representatives murmured among themselves. Some were nodding in agreement, while others looked skeptical. A blue-skinned alien with large, expressive eyes named Tiri raised a hand to speak. But humans are not a united force. They have many problems within their own society. Why should we fear them? She asked, her tone curious but firm. Zarn frowned. You underestimate them, Tiri. Humans may have internal struggles, but when they come together, they become a formidable force. Look at their history. They have survived wars, disasters, and even their own mistakes. They adapt and evolve. We should not take them lightly. A murmur of agreement spread through the room. Another representative, a short, stout alien with bright orange skin named Krell, jumped in. I've heard stories about humans. They fight with a passion we have not seen before. They do not surrender easily. Krell's eyes widened as he spoke, clearly recalling the tales he had heard from other races. Suddenly, an elder council member named Velok stood up. His wrinkled skin and wise eyes commanded attention. Let me tell you a story, Velok began, his voice low and gravelly. Years ago, I faced humans in battle. We thought we could easily crush them. They were outnumbered and cornered. But instead of giving up, they fought back with a ferocity that surprised us all. The chamber fell silent as everyone listened closely. Velok continued. They used tactics we had never seen. They set traps and ambushed us. Their leader rallied the troops, inspiring them to fight harder. We lost that battle, not because we were weaker, but because we underestimated their spirit. Zarn nodded, recalling Velok's past stories. That's the point. Humans have a fire within them that drives them to fight against all odds. We cannot just sit back and assume they will remain peaceful. If we choose to confront them, we must be ready for a fierce battle. The council members exchanged worried glances. A representative from the Arax race, known for their advanced technology, spoke next. What do you suggest, Zarn? Should we launch a preemptive strike against Earth? Show them who is in charge? No! Tiri exclaimed, shaking her head. We cannot start a war based on fear. We should try to communicate first. Understanding is better than fighting. Her words seemed to resonate with some, but others remained unconvinced. The debate heated up with voices rising. "We should show our strength," shouted Krell. "They need to know we are not afraid." "But what if we provoke them?" Tiri countered. "What if they unite and retaliate? We could spark a conflict that spreads across the galaxy." Velok watched the arguments unfold with a frown. He knew that fear could lead to rash decisions. As the council continued to bicker, he realized they needed to find common ground. "Perhaps we can observe them first," he suggested. "Gather more information about their capabilities. We should not act hastily." As the council continued to argue, Velok's words seemed to calm the room. They finally agreed to send a small team to Earth to observe the humans and report back. With this decision, the council adjourned. But as they left the chamber, a sense of uncertainty hung in the air. They all knew that the next steps were crucial. The fate of the galaxy could depend on their choices about humanity. As the representatives filed out, the fear of what was to come weighed heavily on their minds. Would they be ready for the humans? Only time would tell. As the council meeting ended, Velok reflected on the debate. He knew the council's decision to observe humans was wise, but he also felt an unsettling urge to prepare. Memories of his past battle with humans haunted him. He decided to share those memories, hoping to give the council a clearer picture of who they were dealing with. In his mind, he traveled back to the time of the Great Conflict, a moment he wished he could forget but knew he had to remember. Velok had led the charge, his army prepared to overwhelm the human forces. But as the battle commenced, he quickly realized that humans were not like any other race he had encountered. They fought with a fierce determination that caught him off guard. The humans used guerrilla tactics that confused his soldiers. They hid in the shadows, striking quickly and disappearing just as fast. One particular memory stood out vividly. Velok remembered a human leader, a man named Captain Raynor, who rallied his troops with fierce words. Raynor was small but had a presence that was hard to ignore. Velok had watched in awe as Raynor stood atop a rock shouting orders. "We will not back down! We fight for our home!" His voice was filled with passion, igniting a fire in his troops. Velok's soldiers, who had been confident moments before, suddenly hesitated. The humans fought like they had nothing to lose, pushing back against the aliens with unexpected bravery. They threw makeshift bombs and set traps that disrupted Velok's formations. As the battle raged on, Velok witnessed humans taking on multiple enemies at once. They used their surroundings to their advantage, climbing trees and using rocks as shields. Velok's forces were caught off guard. They had expected a quick victory, but instead they found themselves struggling against a relentless enemy. After hours of fighting, Velok's forces finally retreated, battered and bruised. They had underestimated the humans' spirit and resourcefulness. He could still hear Captain Raynor's triumphant roar as the last of Velok's soldiers fled the battlefield. That day, Velok learned a valuable lesson. Humans are tougher than they seem. Back in the present, Velok stood before the council, determined to share his experiences. "You must understand that humans are not to be taken lightly," he urged. "They are fierce fighters, and when they unite, they become a force to be reckoned with. Their passion and will to survive make them unique." The council listened intently as Velok spoke. He could see their expressions changing from skepticism to understanding. Tiri, who had once doubted the threat of humans, nodded slowly, beginning to grasp the gravity of the situation. "So, they are not just reckless creatures," she said thoughtfully. "They fight for their home and their people." "Yes," Velok replied, "and they will do whatever it takes to protect what they love. This makes them dangerous, especially if we choose to engage them in battle." Zarn leaned forward, intrigued. "What can we do to prepare ourselves for such an opponent?" Velok thought for a moment. "We need to gather intelligence, learn more about their technology, their culture, and their strengths. If we are to avoid war, we must understand them better." As discussions continued, a sense of urgency filled the room. The council realized that the humans' ability to fight back was only part of their strength. Their ability to inspire loyalty and unity among their people was equally powerful. The meeting concluded with a renewed commitment to observing humans carefully. Velok hoped that by sharing his story, he had helped the council see the truth. Humanity was not just a passing concern. They were a force that could change the fate of the galaxy. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, Velok felt a mixture of hope and worry. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Understanding the true nature of humans would be vital for their survival. The Galactic Council had barely begun their preparations to observe humans when a sudden commotion filled the chamber. The doors burst open and an alien warrior stormed in. He was tall and muscular, with dark green skin and fierce red markings across his face. His name was Raxan, and he had once been a proud member of the Zarek race. However, he had been exiled for speaking out against his leaders during a failed invasion of Earth. The council members turned to stare, their expressions a mix of surprise and curiosity. Raxan's eyes burned with intensity as he scanned the room, his voice booming. "I come with a warning! Do not underestimate the humans!" Zarn, the Wreck leader, stepped forward. "What do you know of humans, warrior? You were defeated by them, were you not?" His tone was challenging, but Raxan was not deterred. "Defeated, yes, but only because we underestimated their strength," Raxan replied, his voice fierce. "I witnessed their tenacity firsthand. They are not like us, they fight with a wild spirit that cannot be quelled easily." The council murmured among themselves, some intrigued, others skeptical. Tyri, who had once dismissed the threat, looked at Raxan with newfound interest. "Tell us more," she urged. "What did you see?"